Mr. Speaker, this week I announced legislation to rein in the California Coastal Commission, to strip the Coastal Commission of the powers that it's been granted by federal law. The undeniable reality is that the Commission is completely out of control and has veered far from its purpose of protecting the coast. To quote Mike Stoker, who's the former Southwest Administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, he said this: "The California Coastal Commission was created in 1972. For over 50 years, it has been one of, if not the, most overzealous, overreaching, and self-important regulatory agencies I have ever dealt with at the local, state, or federal level." This legislation has become all the more necessary in light of the tragedy that continues to unfold in Los Angeles. The task of rebuilding those communities, the imperative of recovery, is going to be difficult enough as it is, but it will be impossible as long as the Coastal Commission continues to exercise its powers in such irresponsible ways. My bill, specifically, will amend the Coastal Zone Management Act to remove the Commission's authority to block national security-related activities, critical infrastructure projects, and activities with high economic impact, including post-disaster recovery and rebuilding. We all got a very clear window into the manifest irrationality of this agency just a couple months ago, when there was a proposal by SpaceX, together with the Air Force, to increase the launch cadence out of Vandenberg Air Force Base to allow for more launches that are launching satellites for important national security purposes, and launching other payloads such as Starlink satellites. Now, I'll note, by the way, that Starlink is right now, as we speak, being used by first responders in the LA area who have lost connectivity and would otherwise not be able to have the necessary communications for emergency response. So this was all known, by the way, at the time, that this sort of use case for Starlink was part of its potential. I wrote a letter at the time supporting the request for more launches, and we specifically cited the use in fighting wildfires as one reason why this is important. But nevertheless, at the time, just a couple months ago, with this very clear bipartisan proposal supported by the military to allow SpaceX to do more launches, the Coastal Commission rejected it, tried to stop SpaceX from increasing its launches, increasing its capacity to support our national security, to improve connectivity. And the reason that they gave was this. This is not me just sort of speculating about their reasons. This is literally what the commissioner said in a public meeting. They said that they do not like Elon Musk's political posts on X on completely unrelated topics. And so to punish him, they were going to reject the proposal that wasn't just from SpaceX, but from the US military itself in order to do more launches. That told us everything about what the Coastal Commission is all about. And that was very recent. But this agency has a long history of decisions that defy all rationality and defy all measures of public interest, and that don't actually serve the purpose of protecting the environment and protecting the coast. Indeed, when you look at the specific, most problematic causes of the catastrophe in LA, management of forest management and the water supply, the Coastal Commission has been a major hindrance in both areas. In 2019, for example, there was an ongoing project by the LA Department of Water and Power, where in the through Topanga State Park, they were replacing these aging wooden power line poles that were almost 100 years old. And they were in an area that had been identified for having an elevated fire risk. So very important project. These wooden poles, 100 years old, high-risk area. They're replacing them with steel and with more fire-resistant materials. As the New York Post explained, the goal of the project was to improve fire safety for the Pacific Palisades area by replacing those wooden poles with steel, there was installing wind and fire-resistant power lines. Again, this was all in a high fire risk area. But the Coastal Commission caught wind of this, and they learned that there was a particular rare plant, a few of the Bronton's milk vetch in the area, and so they rushed in and said, stop. They brought the project to an immediate halt. It didn't get done. And then in the process, they in fact collected $2 million in fines. This is the sort of action that the Coastal Commission has taken. Or consider just a decision from 2 years ago, when the Commission blocked a desalination plant in Huntington Beach that would have increased LA's water supply. The Commission denied a permit for Poseidon Water's proposed $1.4 billion desalination plant in Huntington Beach. Now, of course, we've all seen how the lack of a sufficient water supply is one of the things that allowed the fires in LA to grow unchecked. We had an empty reservoir, for an example. And here, just 2 years ago, you had the California Coastal Commission rejecting a major augmentation in the region's power supply. Water supply. I mentioned the issue related to SpaceX, which also undermined our national security in addition to our ability to innovate and the ability to launch Starlink satellites. But the CCC, the Commission, has also, on several occasions, rejected proposals from the U.S. Navy. For example, it rejected the U.S. Navy's proposal to increase sonar and underwater explosives training off Southern California. In another instance, it filed a lawsuit against the Navy for proceeding with 14 major training exercises off of Southern California, again, harming U.S. national security. But then finally, there's the issue of housing, because in order to rebuild these beautiful communities, it is going to be a major undertaking. And the Coastal Commission is most assuredly going to stand in the way of that process. It has a long history of denying project after project after project. California has a massive housing shortage, and yet even when we have projects that have gotten all the necessary approvals, that have met all the very stringent requirements set out by the state, you have the Coastal Commission that will come in and spike the project. They've done this so much that a group called Circulate San Diego issued a report recently highlighting how the Coastal Commission has consistently taken actions that worsen California's housing crisis. And they highlighted examples of how even these some would call left-leaning set of requirements for housing that the legislature has set. Even projects that have met all of those things, the Coastal Commission has, quote, resisted, opposed, and delayed the construction of deed-restricted affordable homes that use programs like density bonus law. This is even true, they noted, when all of the zoning approvals have been obtained. The report goes on to say that it documents examples where the Coastal Commission opposes projects that the legislature encourages as part of California's efforts to combat climate change, crosswalks, bicycle lanes, and infill development near projects, the report states, are all goals of recent statewide legislation, yet the Coastal Commission opposes or delays many of these projects. So, Mr. Speaker, the process of rebuilding and recovery in LA is going to be a long and difficult one. But there are some things that we know we need to do right off the bat. And perhaps the easiest thing, the most obvious thing, is to assure that the California Coastal Commission does not stand in the way. So that is why I'll be urging my colleagues on both sides of the aisle and both houses of Congress to move on this legislation as quickly as possible. This will be an important first step towards rebuilding Los Angeles and towards restoring some common sense in California.